we stay in the US and we go to New York and speak now to Tom O'Connor, who is a senior foreign policy writer at Newsweek. Welcome to the program. Tell us, Tom, what are you expecting from President Biden's trip to Europe, and then what are you expecting from NATO this week? Given that it really appears the threat level has increased, we've heard there claims of potential biological and chemical weapons could be used by Russia.
Yeah, certainly. So one thing that I think will be the prevailing theme of this trip will be a show of unity to keep up that unity. Obviously, we saw a lot of that in the early stages of this conflict until this day. At the same time, the longer this drags on and the longer the economic effects of this drag on, specifically when it comes to the world economy, trade routes and resources, that I think there will be a series of stress tests for each individual country within NATO alliance and within Europe too. So I think that there's going to be a campaign to keep up this momentum on this. I think that'll be one of President Biden's key goals there. And of course, we're going to see some more sanctions. We're going to see President Biden showing that there's still more levels of deterrence. I think that the U.S. wants to show it hasn't unleashed the full arsenal of the measures and steps it's willing to take to punish Russia. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see how this will play out as far as the U.S.'s ability to rally the countries continuing into this conflict.
And on Monday, President Biden warned US CEOs about the potential of cyber attacks on US companies. And you have written that Russia is seeking talks to help prevent a cyber war. Tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I spoke with Russia's top cyber diplomat, actually the special representative for the Kremlin on the issue. And the position from Russia is that just because there is a geopolitical crisis going on between the U.S. and Russia over Ukraine, and perhaps because of that, that there needs to be this sort of strategic dialogue, which we've seen play out in nuclear weapons, also with cyber. And this has been going on for some time now, and I think it has its origins specifically in a proposal put forth by President Putin back in September 2020. We know it was a key issue on the table in talks in Geneva between President Biden and Putin in last June. And it's something that the Russians have been pushing on for some time. They want a treaty of sorts, the same ways that we saw these sort of treaties, like I said, in nuclear warfare during the Cold War, to be applied to cybersecurity, essentially, to govern cyber warfare and the rules of the road on that. And it's especially important now, given the fact the U.S. feels that there could be a Russian cyber warfare planned against the U.S. itself in the near future. So I think there's sort of it's an implied threat there the U.S. senses, while Russia is also calling for talks on this.
Very interesting points you raised there. And just very broadly, what do you think Russia may do next?
Well, I think that as we sort of predicted with the frustration of the early stages of this conflict from the Russian side, there probably will be an intensification further of Russian efforts to achieve their strategic goals, be it taking cities, moving forward, and of course, I think gaining a stronger position to leverage their military might against Ukraine in potential negotiations. We haven't seen considerable progress in negotiations. At the same time, we have seen Ukraine publicly, and this goes from President Zelensky, the foreign minister, and various officials, talk about walking back from the NATO membership bid and perhaps declaring neutrality. The tougher issues here seem to be the future status of Crimea, which Russia de facto already controls and annexed back in 2014, as well as the eastern Donbass region, where, again, Russia essentially exerts control over this with the help of separatists that are on the ground there. So I think figuring out the status of those areas will be key to determining whether there's a successful negotiated outcome to this process. At the same time, it remains to be seen whether what exactly the outcome of Russia's demilitarization, denazification, of course, justifications for this war actually will be, and whether there is a actual outcome to that, and whether Russia can actually spin that as part of its off-ramp to getting away from this crisis.
Tom, fantastic to speak to you. Tom O'Connor, senior foreign policy writer at Newsweek. Really appreciate your time and your analysis.